Football is a game of passion, precision, and physicality. But sometimes it's not the opponent, the pitch, or the weather that takes a player down. It's the most unexpected, absurd, and downright ridiculous moments life throws at them. From broken toes caused by perfume bottles, to knee injuries from chasing baby bottles under the couch, these are not the kind of fouls you see in match reports. Unbelievable and face-palm-worthy injury stories in football history. You'll laugh, you'll cringe, and you'll probably never look at ironing boards, gaming consoles, or tiny dogs the same way again. So buckle up and maybe don't stretch too hard. We're kicking off the weirdest injury list you didn't know you needed. Santiago Cañizares. The perfume catastrophe. Spain's top goalkeeper, Santiago Cañizares, was on the brink of representing his country in the 2002 World Cup. He had trained for months. Fans were excited, and the Spanish squad looked solid. Then came the cologne. While in his hotel bathroom, he dropped a bottle of expensive perfume. Trying to save it with his foot, the glass shattered on contact, slicing into his toe. A freak injury, yes, but one that cost him the biggest stage of his career. A shattered perfume bottle, a bleeding foot, and a national heartbreak. Spain was left with a substitute, and Cañizares with a lifetime of what-ifs. It's a cautionary tale. Never mix luxury scents with bare feet. Darren Barnard, a key figure for Barnsley, returned home one day to discover that his puppy had left a puddle on the kitchen floor. Before he could grab a mop, disaster struck. One step into the mess, his foot slid violently forward. His knee twisted, his ligament tore, and his season was over. The whole ordeal lasted seconds, but the recovery would take 5 months. The poor pup wagged its tail, unaware it had just sidelined its owner. Barnard later admitted it was the most embarrassing injury of his career. Canine companionship may be loyal, but house training? That's urgent. Steve Morrow, celebration gone wrong. Imagine scoring the match-winning goal in a Wembley Cup final. Arsenal's Steve Morrow did just that. His teammate Tony Adams, overcome with joy, hoisted Morrow in the air, only to drop him onto the pitch. The awkward landing resulted in a broken collarbone. Medics rushed in, and instead of lifting the cup, Morrow was lifted onto a stretcher. He didn't even get to attend the trophy ceremony. Fans went from cheering to gasping. Celebration turned catastrophe. Arsenal won, but Morrow lost a summer of football. Manchester United's vocal goalkeeper Alex Stepney was known for organizing his defense. But during one particularly tense match, he shouted so loudly that he dislocated his jaw. That's right, no contact, no collision, just sheer vocal power. Medics confirmed the bizarre diagnosis. Stepney was out of action for weeks. His teammates, both amused and horrified, never forgot the day a keeper was benched by his own volume. Lesson learned? French goalkeeper. Lionel Letizia had dodged strikers and defenders with ease throughout his career. But one enemy proved too formidable: his own bathroom. One slip on the wet tile, and his hamstring popped. A week off became several. While teammates recovered from tackles and headers, Letizia nursed an injury from ceramic tiles and water. The bathroom may be a sanctuary, but for Letizia, it was the most treacherous ground he ever faced. David Batty, attacked by his child. Tough-as-nails midfielder David Batty had faced some of football's fiercest tacklers without flinching. But one evening at home, the danger came from the most unlikely of sources: his toddler. While playing with his child, who was gleefully riding a tricycle around the living room, Batty turned at the wrong moment. The front wheel of the trike collided squarely with his ankle, knocking him down. He rolled over, wincing in pain. What initially looked like a stub turned out to be a full-blown ankle injury, sidelining him for weeks. Batty admitted later in an interview that it was more painful than most of his Premier League knocks. The story spread like wildfire in the tabloids. Battled Roy Keane, felled by a toddler, one headline read. Parenting may be beautiful, it's also hazardous. Richard Wright had one job: follow training protocols. But the day before a crucial FA Cup semi-final, he ignored a giant warning sign on the pitch. It clearly read, "Do not train here." Naturally, Wright thought it didn't apply to him. As he jumped to catch a high ball, he landed awkwardly, slipped, and twisted his ankle. He was ruled out of the match. The manager was furious. Fans were bewildered. A £6 million keeper taken out by his own arrogance, or maybe by fate. Moral of the story? If a sign says don't, then really don't. Kevin Prince Boateng was known for his flair, both on and off the pitch. But his most bizarre injury explanation came when he revealed that his frequent absences weren't due to muscle tears or training knocks. It was his love life. Specifically, too much of it. Boateng candidly shared that his recurring thigh injuries were caused by overexertion in bed. The tabloids ran wild. Fans were stunned. Even his coach was left scratching his head. Was this dedication or distraction? Whatever the case, Boateng found himself missing matches not because of defenders, but from a different kind of intense workout. It was the kind of injury that trainers can't tape and physios can't stretch out. Just rest, lots of it, and maybe a bit less romance. Ever Banega, the Argentine midfield maestro, was having a great season. Then one ordinary day turned catastrophic at a gas station. After fueling his car, Banega forgot to pull the handbrake. As he walked into the shop to pay, the car began to roll right over his leg. The weight of the vehicle crushed his tibia and fibula. It was a horrific injury that sidelined him for months. Fans were shocked. How could a professional athlete, someone trained in discipline and control, let a car outwit him? Doctors confirmed he was lucky to avoid amputation. As he recovered, memes flooded the internet. And Banega? He never forgot the parking brake again. Ever. Real Madrid's rising star, Marco Asensio, was prepping for a big Champions League match when a grooming mishap knocked him off course. Like many footballers, he shaved his legs for comfort and hygiene. But a small cut became infected. The infection spread, inflamed the area, and medical staff ruled him unfit to play. A razor, something so ordinary, had taken out one of Madrid's brightest talents. Social media had a field day. Fans joked about death by shaving. And Asensio? He learned to leave the shaving to the professionals, or at least to do it with better lighting. The beautiful game, brought down by body grooming. When Aston Villa's Darius Vassell felt pain in his toe, he decided to take matters into his own hands, literally. Instead of visiting the club doctor, he took out a power drill. Yes, a power drill. His idea: relieve pressure from what he assumed was a blood blister. But with no medical training and the tools of a carpenter, Vassell accidentally drilled into bone. The injury quickly worsened, and he was rushed to the hospital with a fractured toe and deep tissue damage. His recovery took weeks. The tabloids branded it the dumbest DIY in football history. Lesson learned: if it requires electricity, it's not first aid. At just 5 feet 4 inches, Alan Wright was the Premier League's shortest player. But his choice of car was still questionable. He proudly owned a Ferrari, which he found tricky to operate due to his short legs. To press the accelerator properly, he extended his leg awkwardly and ended up pulling a hamstring. A Ferrari, a pulled hamstring, and weeks on the sidelines. When reporters asked if he'd consider a more size-appropriate vehicle, he reportedly said, "Never." His love for luxury beat logic. It's the only time a sports car sidelined a footballer without even moving. Lee Hendry believed in warm-ups, sometimes a little too much. During a pre-match stretch, he tried to impress teammates by doing an exaggerated hamstring extension. Mid-pose, he slipped, fell backwards, and pulled 2 muscles at once. He was carted off the pitch before kickoff. Fans hadn't even found their seats. Teammates tried not to laugh. The physio called it the most ambitious stretch I've ever seen. Hendry missed the next 3 matches and earned the nickname Ballet Lee. During a Swiss League match, Paulo Diogo assisted a goal and ran to the fence to celebrate. In his excitement, he jumped onto the barrier, forgetting he was wearing a wedding ring. The ring caught on the top of the metal fencing. As he jumped back down, his finger stayed up. Literally. His ring finger was torn off. The medics couldn't save it. To add insult to agony, the referee booked him for excessive celebration while he bled on the touchline. The moral? Celebrate with your feet, not your fingers.